Abortion, the economy, and the president's prospects in 2024 are all key issues for the midterms. My guest tonight is Natalie Bencivenga. She is up late with me tonight here on the Final Five to talk about it, joining us from a town that we both love and adore, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Good to see you, Natalie.
It's great to see you, Jim, and I really loved your Bernie impression a few minutes ago.
That was the one thing. I hadn't had an excuse to use it in a long time, and I figured at that moment, let's talk about it, okay? We're going to talk about it, but first we're going to talk to Natalie. Hey, look, as we look at what's going on in Pennsylvania right now, you know, everybody's saying as you look at the state of the country, and Pennsylvania has been interesting because it's flipped back and forth the last couple of years. 2012, it went for Obama. 2016, it went for Trump. 2020, it went for Biden. And now we're seeing these polls close up a little bit here.
Yeah, the reality is Pennsylvania is a purple state, right? So you have Philadelphia and, of course, Pittsburgh that are voting blue, but you go outside of these city spaces and you see a lot of red. Mm-hmm. So really, we actually have a lot of blending going on, and that's why I think these races have gotten so contentious, because there is so much at stake, there is so much polarization around these issues that you can't really predict these races in the ways that maybe you could have even 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, and especially, too, because if you look at the candidates here, these are two very unlikely candidates in a normal political world, which we are no longer in a normal political world. You have John Fetterman, whose electoral experience consisted of being the mayor of the city of Braddock, the borough of Braddock, and then one term as lieutenant governor. Dr. Oz, we know exactly what he's done through the years. And I'll tell you what's interesting. For the people that I know on the ground in Pittsburgh, you know, they're drawn to, there are people who are dyed-in-the-wool Democrats who say, I might vote for Dr. Oz here, but there are people I know who have voted for Trump that's saying, I like John Fetterman, there's something about him. So there seems to be kind of a crossing of the streams there.
Yeah, I think what's going on is Fetterman is such an unconventional candidate in how he presents, right? So there he is in the hoodies. Now, I did notice that when he met with Biden here recently, he was wearing a suit. So yeah. I think there is this sort of
a little uncomfortable there, Natalie,
when it comes to the way that he's presenting. But when it comes to messaging, I think Oz is far more extreme, but he presents more like a classic politician. So I think that's why you're seeing sort of these crossovers in ways that we've never seen before.
And you know, there's a lot of talk about what would be the issue to drive out voters. And you can make the argument, the economy, because that's the one thing that affects almost everybody out there. Everybody seems to be paying more in gas prices. You might be paying more for products at the store. Democrats have said, look, Roe v. Wade's on the ballot here, and that's an issue that is personal for a lot of people. So, you know, is there an overriding issue on the ground in PA right now, or is it all over the place?
It is a little bit all over the place. I always say that Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh in particular is sort of like a petri dish for what's going on in the country. Any issue that we have here in this city, we see nationally, whether it's voting rights, whether it's climate justice, whether it's reproductive justice, whether it's racial justice. So what we're seeing right now, I think, is the Democrats are leaning in really hard to Roe v. Wade. And of course, you know, if Doug Mastriano, who's running against Shapiro as a Republican, if he were to win, he has called for an all-out ban on abortion. And Oz has echoed that sentiment from the Senate. So you have clearly very extremist views that I hope is pushing the Democrats to come out in droves. But on the Republican side, what I've seen a lot in terms of ads and things of interest and points of interest, not just on the economy, but around police and protection and this idea around crime. And that, to me, is going to, I think, make more of a difference than necessarily the economic issues that we're facing right now, because that's what I'm really seeing the Republicans hitting hard in terms of ads and what they're pushing in terms of messaging here in Pennsylvania.
You know, and especially when you talk about Dr. Oz and then Doug Mastriano, the Republican candidate for governor here, he is not campaigning. You're not seeing Mastriano and Oz campaigning together. But there also seems to be a dispute over who really calls the shots when it comes to reducing crime, because that is something we see it here in D.C., we see it all over the country. Is it something that can be dealt with on the federal level, or is it something that can be done on the state level? And I think it really speaks to the fact that a lot of people out there seem to discount a lot of these local races, whether they be state house, state legislature, city council for that matter. But those are often, that's the first line of action when it comes to many of these issues like crime prevention.
What's been really fascinating about reporting on politics in Pennsylvania and in Pittsburgh in particular is I have drilled down into this sort of this local space and have really understood these issues. And you're absolutely right. All politics really is local. Not only does it matter who you're voting for the Senate, for president, on all these federal levels, for governor, but also we had a huge experience last spring where we had something like 10 or 12 judges' seats up for grabs at the local level here in Allegheny County. And that hasn't happened, I think, in about 30 years. And judges also set the precedent for how we deal with crime and what kind of retribution we're expecting from people that go into the system. So as we're looking at all of this, it just makes me realize even more, and I think it makes a lot of the people of the state realize just how impactful and important voting is. And there was only about a 25% turnout for that race. And when you think about that, that's what concerns me, is are people going to actually come out and vote? Yeah,
it's a lot more than just Senate seats and the governor's race and the presidency. Natalie Bencivenga, good to see you. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this, and I just hope everyone goes out and registers to vote. October 24th is the deadline. Yeah, well, especially depending on where you are, it varies from place to place. But Natalie, good to see you here, and the Final Five is back right after this.